I used to live in a small house on the edge of town. It wasn't remote, but my backyard stretched into a patch of woods, and at night it got dark. No streetlights, no nearby houses, with their windows glowing, just blackness. One summer night, around 11 p.m., I was in my living room watching TV. The back door was open, just the screen door shut to let in the cool night air. My dog Murphy was lying by my feet. Then Murphy sat up, his ears perked, and he stared at the screen door. I thought maybe he heard a raccoon or something, so I shushed him, but he didn't move. He just kept staring. And then I heard it too. A shuffle. Not an animal scurrying, a footstep. I froze. My heart started pounding. I reached for the remote and muted the TV. Silence. For a few seconds, I thought I imagined it. But then, another step. Closer. Right outside the door. Murphy growled, low and deep. I had never heard that sound from him before. I stood up slowly and turned on the back porch light. The bulb flickered to life. And there he was, a man, standing in my backyard. He was just past the screen door, half hidden in the shadows. His clothes were dirty, his hair matted. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there, staring at me. I couldn't breathe. My mind raced. Was he homeless, lost, on drugs, or worse? I cleared my throat, trying to sound firm. Can I help you? No response. He just tilted his head slightly, like he was studying me. Then he took a step forward. I slammed the back door shut and locked it so fast my hands were shaking. My heart was pounding out of my chest. Murphy was barking like crazy now, growling, throwing himself at the door. I grabbed my phone and called 911. My voice barely steady as I told them what was happening. The operator kept me on the line, telling me to stay inside and wait for the cops. I checked the door again. The man was gone. I didn't hear him leave. No footsteps, no sound at all. He had just disappeared. The police arrived 10 minutes later. They searched my backyard in the woods but found nothing. No footprints, no sign that anyone had been there at all. One officer told me it was probably just a drifter passing through. If he comes back, call us immediately, he said. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. For weeks, I kept my doors locked at all times. I double-checked every window before bed, but eventually I convinced myself it was a one-time thing. Until 3 months later. That's when I found something. One morning I was out in the yard, finally feeling comfortable enough to enjoy the sun. I walked past the bushes near my porch, and something caught my eye, a pile of cigarette butts. And next to them, a small, neatly folded blanket. Someone had been watching my house. I moved out 6 weeks later. This happened to me about 5 years ago, and to this day, I can't explain it. I was driving home late one night after visiting my parents. It was a 3-hour drive through mostly empty roads, the kind where you don't see another car for miles. I had the radio on low, just enough to keep myself awake. Somewhere around 1 a.m., my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. It was a voicemail notification. That was strange. I hadn't heard it ring. No missed call, no number on the screen, just a new voicemail. Curious, I pressed play, and that's when I almost drove off the road. The voicemail was from me, my voice. I was speaking in a low, urgent whisper, but the thing is, I had no memory of ever recording it. At first, I thought maybe it was a butt dial or some weird glitch, but as I listened, my stomach dropped because the message said this: "Don't go home. He's waiting for you." I nearly slammed on the brakes. I pulled over, my hands shaking as I replayed it over and over. It was definitely my voice, but I had no memory of saying those words. No idea how the message got on my phone. I checked the timestamp. The voicemail had been left 10 minutes ago. I had been driving the whole time, alone. I didn't know what to do. A part of me wanted to ignore it. Maybe it was some kind of prank, a tech glitch, but another part of me was terrified. I sat there on the side of the road for a long time, debating. Finally, I decided to listen to the message. I didn't go home. Instead, I drove to a nearby gas station and sat in the brightly lit parking lot, heart pounding. I stayed there for almost an hour, trying to rationalize what had happened. And then, my phone buzzed again. Another voicemail. My hands were sweating as I pressed play. This one was only 2 words. Good choice. I never went home that night. Instead, I called a friend and crashed at their place. When I finally did go home the next day, nothing seemed out of place. But I couldn't shake the feeling that if I had gone home that night, something would have been waiting for me. I still have the voicemails saved. I've played them for friends, and they all agree. It's my voice, but I never recorded them, and I have no idea who did. This happened to me a few years ago, and I still get nervous thinking about it. I was working late at my job and didn't leave the office until nearly midnight. My car was one of the only ones left in the parking lot, and the streetlights were dim, casting long shadows. I was exhausted. I unlocked my car, got in, and shut the door. But as I reached for my seatbelt, something felt off. The air smelled different, like cologne, a scent I didn't recognize. That's when I noticed the rearview mirror. It was tilted. I always keep it in the same position, and I knew for a fact that I hadn't touched it. My stomach dropped. I slowly turned my head and looked into the back seat. There was someone there, a man. He was crouched down, trying to stay out of sight, but I could see his eyes wide and staring at me. For a second, neither of us moved. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. Then, he lunged forward. I threw myself out of the car so fast I hit the pavement hard, scraping my hands and knees. The door was still open, and I saw the man scramble over the seat like he was about to chase me. I don't remember screaming, but I must have, because a security guard from a nearby building came running. The man in my car bolted. He flung the door open and took off into the darkness before the guard could get a good look at him. The police were called, and when they searched my car, they found something that still makes my skin crawl. A rope, a box cutter, and a roll of duct tape, all neatly placed under the passenger seat. The officers told me I probably interrupted him, that he had been waiting for me, hiding in my back seat, planning to do something the second I let my guard down. I don't know what would have happened if I had started driving. Now, every time I get in my car, I check the back seat. Every single time, and I suggest you do the same.